Hello students, let's start with chapter 7 of the Vistas book, Evans Tries an O-Level by Colin Dexter. The textbook has so many pages for this chapter, but don't worry, here in my video, I'm going to summarize it so well and in short. So you'll love it. Let's start with the chapter introduction. Evans Tries an O-Level. This story is a classic high-stakes game, you can say, of cat and mouse, like how cat and mouse chase each other between a brilliant, non-violent prisoner. Okay, so basically the game goes on between a prisoner named James Evans and the entire management of Oxford Prison. Now, as soon as you hear the word Oxford Prison, you should understand that this story is written by an English writer, right? British writer. Now, Evans Tries an O-Level shows how far a person can go using pure human psychology, planning and charm to outsmart an entire police system. If you love prison break stories with massive plot twists, this chapter is going to be your absolute favorite. Before I enter into the characters, first I should talk about the author. His name is Colin Dexter, a renowned English crime writer, okay? And he wrote this story, Evans Tries an O-Level, and published it in the year 1977. Theek? And now come to the character sketches. I will give you the major characters here. First, let's start with the protagonist, the prisoner. His complete name is James Roderick Evans. Let's meet him. You know, popularly, he's called as Evans the Break among the prison staff. Now, this Evans the Break, or James Roderick Evans, is a young, pleasant and highly intelligent man. Unlike typical criminals, Evans is completely non-violent, and yes, he's incredibly charming, which is why the prison guards secretly can't help but like him. Let me tell you, Evans has this high psychological habit of stealing things. But where does his true passion lie? It lies in escaping from prisons. Yes, he has already successfully broken out 3 times from prison. Can you imagine? Evans is a master coordinator who stays multiple steps ahead of the law. Why? Because he has a deep understanding of human behavior and he knows how to manipulate the guards in exactly the way he wants to make his plan work. The second major character is Officer Stephens. Who is he? Officer Stephens is a newly recruited prison officer who is eager to impress his superiors, particularly the governor. Because Officer Stephens is young and inexperienced, he strictly adheres to the literal wording of the orders given to him without looking at the bigger picture. Officer Stephens' nervous energy and desire to be dutiful makes him very easy to manipulate by Evans, and therefore Evans plays on Officer Stephens' insecurities to tell him to stand outside the cell. You'll understand all this when the story begins. Now talk about the third major character, who is the governor. Governor is the head of this prison. The name of this prison is HM Prison, Oxford. Okay, so the governor is the head of HM Prison, Oxford. He is a proud, middle-aged man who takes his job very seriously, but the governor suffers from an excess of self-confidence. Yes, he does. You know, he genuinely wishes well for Evans' education, yet his ego turns the situation into a personal challenge as he boasts that Evans will never escape on his watch. So, while he is smart enough to double-check clues and listen in on the cell using a microphone, his fatal flaw is his complacency, which means the governor focuses heavily on formal security procedures but completely fails to verify the real identities of the people right in front of him, ultimately making him the perfect target of Evans' trickery. Now, how does the summary start? Listen. The story Evans Tries an O-Level kicks off when Evans, a prisoner at HM Prison, Oxford, expresses a sudden desire to study German. and he wants to take a GCSE O-level exam of German language. Now, the governor agrees. Yes, he agrees. And he arranges for Evans to take the test. But how? Inside his high security cell, under the supervision of an outward invigilator or outside invigilator who is a parson. Parson is a religious figure whose name is Reverend Stuart McLeary. Do you understand the scene here? So governor agrees, says Evans, okay, you can take the German O-level exam, but we will make Reverend Stuart McLeary sit in front of you as an invigilator. Okay, not just that, to ensure absolute security, the cell or the prison where Evans is staying or where Evans will take the exam is bugged with a microphone so that the governor can listen everything happening inside. Not just this, a newly recruited officer named Officer Stephens is posted right outside Evans' door. Nice. Now come to the examination day. Before the German exam even begins, two senior officers whose names are Jackson and Stephens thoroughly search Evans' cell and strip him of any potential weapons like his nail file or razor. Evans intentionally begs Jackson to let him keep his lucky, filthy bobble hat on during the exam. Basically, Evans tells Stephens, okay, you can take my nail file, okay, you can take my razor, but please let me wear this bobble hat of mine during the exam. This is a good luck charm for me, this hat. Jackson gives in, which is a massive mistake, because let me tell you, the hat was actually hiding Evans' closely cropped hair. Yes, he cut his hair so that he looks exactly like Parson. When the parson McLeary arrives, the guards search his briefcase. They find a mysterious, semi-inflated rubber ring in McLeary's suitcase. McLeary is a parson. Why should he have a rubber ring? McLeary claims that he needs it to sit comfortably due to a medical condition called hemorrhoids. But in reality, let me tell you, this ring that McLeary, the parson, is carrying with him is filled with pig's blood mixed with a chemical to stop it from clotting. Now, exam starts, and during the exam, the governor listens via the microphone. Two key events occur. First, the correction slip. A phone call comes in from the examination center with a correction slip for a typo on the paper. The governor allows it through. And second key event is a fake phone call. Later, the governor receives a phone call seeming from a magistrate's court requesting a prison van and guards for an urgent matter. The governor quickly follows and sends his own security forces away from the prison. Now, what is happening inside the cell where Evans is taking his exam? He wraps himself in a blanket, claiming that he feels cold. Not just this, he asks Stephens to wait outside the door and not inside and stop staring at him because Stephens' staring is distracting Evans during his exam. Exam ends. Stephens walks the parson to the main gate and returns to check the cell one last time before locking in Evans. To his horror, Evans is gone and the parson is literally tied, slumped in the chair. He's not tied, he's basically in the chair, bleeding heavily from a massive head wound. Doesn't all this sound fishy? Listen to me. The bleeding parson tells the guards he knows where Evans is fleeing and points to coded German text written on the exam paper. The governor frantically follows these clues, sending Detective Superintendent Carter with the injured parson to chase the criminal. They drop the parson at the nearby hospital, the name of which is Radcliffe Infirmary Hospital, thinking that he is bleeding. However, listen now students, the true genius of Evans' plan is soon revealed. What is it that Evans has played with? First, the real Reverend McLeary was actually bound, kidnapped at home all morning, therefore he never reached the prison. The man who came dressed as Reverend McLeary was an imposter. And the bleeding parson left behind in the cell was not a parson, he was Evans himself. The blanket gave him privacy to change clothes, and he used the pig's blood from the imposter's suitcase from the rubber ring, remember, to fake the injury. In fact, Evans never left the cell or escaped the cell himself. He allowed the prison staff to willingly escort him out of the prison gates, drop him at the hospital. Can you imagine? And when the police car dropped him off, he simply walked away from the hospital as a free man. But the story does not end here. Listen. The governor manages to track Evans down to a hotel called the Golden Lion Hotel by decoding the exam paper clues himself. The governor confronts Evans in his hotel room, feeling victorious, and watches as Evans is handcuffed and put into a prison van to be taken back. But Evans gets the last laugh. Let me repeat. Evans gets the last laugh because the prison van and the guards who have handcuffed him were actually his own friends in disguise. Remember, the governor had sent the police, the prison van and the guards away, seeming to the magistrate. That was not true. That phone call was fake. So the very same group that arranged the fake magistrate court phone call earlier, all those people became the prison van, the guards, and finally, the moment the van drives out of the governor's sight, they all unlock Evans' handcuffs and drive off into total freedom. And that's how Evans runs once again. Isn't this a crazy, crazy story? You'll understand it better as we do the textual question answers. All the questions from the text will now be discussed. Please write these answers in your board exams and you will get good marks. Question number 1. Reflecting on the story, what did you feel about Evans having the last laugh? Answer. Evans having the last laugh at the end of the story feels highly dramatic and serves as a brilliant climax to a non-violent comic tragedy of errors. Throughout the narrative, a sharp contrast is drawn between the overconfident prison authorities and Evans' creative intelligence. The governor prided himself on taking flawless precautions, such as bugging the cell with a microphone, stripping Evans of all the weapons, personally tracking him down to the Golden Lion Hotel. However, Evans' ultimate escape in the governor's own van proves that the prison machinery was completely outmaneuvered. Evans wins the reader's admiration because his escape relies strictly on human psychology and a strong network of friends rather than violence. Right? Come to question number 2. When Stephens comes back to the cell, he jumps to a conclusion and the whole machinery blindly goes by his assumption without even checking the identity of the injured McLeary. Does this show how hasty conjectures can prevent one from seeing the obvious? How is the criminal able to predict such negligence? Let's come to the answer. Yes, the story vividly demonstrates how hasty conjectures can completely blind people to the obvious truth. When Stephens discovers the bleeding man in the cell, he instantly assumes it to be the invigilator McLeary and thinks that Evans has escaped. This single assumption sets off a chain reaction where the governor, Detective Superintendent Carter, and the entire prison machinery blindly follows the narrative of Stephen without performing a basic identity check. Evans is a master psychologist who is able to predict this negligence because he understands two critical flaws in human behavior. First is panic and second is herd mentality. First, panic. Evans knew that the sudden sight of heavy bleeding, respectable clergyman would shock the guards and evoke immediate sympathy. Second, predicting rigid routines or herd mentality. Evans anticipated that the prison staff operated like cogs in a machine. That is, once a senior officer accepted an assumption, the subordinates would stop questioning it. Therefore, Evans' deep understanding of human psychology allowed him to turn their own hasty assumptions into his perfect escape route. Done with question number 2. Now come to question number 3. What could the governor have done to securely bring back Evans to prison when he caught him at the Golden Lion Hotel? Does that final act of foolishness really prove that he was just another good-for-a-giggle, gullible governor, that was all? Answer. To securely bring back Evans back to prison from the Golden Lion Hotel, the governor should have avoided his typical complacency and taken basic security precautions. Instead of blindly trusting the arriving prison van, he could have first personally accompanied Evans in his own car. Second, verified the credentials and identity cards of the van driver. Third, called the prison directly to confirm if they have dispatched a van. Fourth, requested a local police escort from the Chipping Norton police station to assist in the transfer. But this final act of negligence absolutely proves that governor was indeed a good-for-a-giggle, gullible governor. The moment he caught Evans, his ego took over. Feeling incredibly self-satisfied, he let his guards down. Question number 5. Okay, fourth we'll do later. 5. Do you agree that between crime and punishment it is mainly a battle of wits? Answer. Yes, I agree that the conflict between crime and punishment is largely a battle of wits rather than a mere display of physical force. While the state uses authority, physical structures, and resources to enforce punishment, criminals often rely on intellectual strategy, psychological manipulation, and meticulous planning to evade it. This dynamic is clearly demonstrated in the story through several key aspects. First, mind over muscle. HM Prison Oxford is fortified with heavy iron gates, barred cells, and a bugged room. However, Evans effortlessly bypasses this physical might. He uses the governor's own security protocols against him, proving that intellectual strategy easily overcomes physical barriers. Second point in this answer will be psychological manipulation. Evans succeeds because he understands how his captors think. He predicts Stephen's nervousness, Jackson's hidden leniency, which allows him to keep his lucky hat, and the governor's arrogance. Third point will be predictability versus innovation. The prison machinery relies on predictable routines. Evans wins the battle of wits because he's highly adaptable and creative, turning everyday objects like a rubber ring and a correction slip into crucial tools for his escape. Done with question number 5, and now come to question number 4, which is, while we condemn the crime, we are sympathetic to the criminal. Is this the reason why prison staff often develop a soft corner for those in custody? Answer. Yes, it is a fundamental human tendency to separate the crime from the criminal. While society universally condemns unlawful acts, we often develop sympathy for the criminal when they exhibit charm, intelligence, or vulnerability. This psychological duality is precisely why prison staff, despite their duty, frequently develop a soft corner for those in custody. This phenomenon is clearly reflected in the story through the following points. First, humanizing the prisoner. Evans is not a violent criminal or a terrorist or a murderer. He is described as a pleasant, non-violent kleptomaniac who is highly amusing. Second, the captor-captive dynamic. Daily, constant human interaction between guards and inmates naturally breaks down rigid professional barriers. For example, Senior Officer Jackson and Evans have a long-standing rivalry, yet Jackson refers to him as Little Einstein and exhibits a hidden warmth by allowing him to keep his lucky bobble hat. Third, admiration for intellect. Humans naturally admire wit and courage. Evans' brilliant, harmless planning makes the prison staff and the readers root for his success against a heavy-handed bureaucratic system. With this, I'm done with the chapter. I hope you loved it. It will be very helpful for your exams. If you liked it, kindly comment and subscribe to my channel Tell a Tale with Hina. Thank you.